This is Take Two.
You do have a fucking amazing name.
Thank you
it's
very much.
I'm Lydia Des Dolles. Like, you have such a fucking cool name.
Thank
Like,
you very much.
where the what? Like, that's so good. Also, thank you for being here.
No problem.
I have like so many questions to ask you, and they're genuinely just for me. Like,
That's okay.
fuck the fucking listeners. So like at this point in time, I'm just like, no, just like give me everything. Because like I feel like you're 10 years ahead of me.
Well,
Does
I
that
probably
make
am
sense?
because, I mean, how old are you?
25.
And I'm 38, so I definitely
You're 10
am.
years ahead.
Yes, I am.
No,
I'm
10.
like,
Cut the 3.
3 out. I'm 10 years ahead of you, yes.
That's so cool. Like, and so this is going to sound really strange, right?
Okay.
Don't fucking make fun of me.
Never.
But no, do. Like, I'm short anyways. But I was I was in a fucking mood this weekend,
Yeah.
and I was listening to. Did you listen to Miley Cyrus's new album?
No.
She recorded her album like for Disney Plus, and it's called like the Backyard Sessions, right? And she also played The Climb, so she was singing The Climb. Remember, like
Yeah,
back in the
I
day.
know that one, yeah.
And I'm there, I'm in a bad mood, and all of a sudden I'm fucking bawling my eyes out like a loser, like genuinely. And she's just talking about like the journey and all that, and like getting to the top. And I don't know if it's some universe stuff, but then the way like things work sometimes, it's like everything goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started obviously listening to your podcast and like your stuff for like research for this. And you started to talk a little bit about like being at the top and your midlife crisis after,
Yes.
which is so interesting, right? And I was like, fucking hell. Like sometimes, with the climb and the lyrics, and it's like there's these fucking mountains, and everyone always says about this journey. And I was like, I feel like right now, the way it's happening, right, Lydia? I'm like looking up at these fucking mountains, but there's like clouds in front of them. I have no idea where the fuck I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm petrified.
Yes.
First of all, I'm petrified because like, what if these mountains aren't fucking there? What if I'm climbing? I want to climb Everest.
Yes.
I don't want to climb Croagh Patrick.
Yeah.
And I'm so scared of like just like embarking on a journey that then I'm just like, fuck, like I'm screwing up here.
Yes.
And you obviously didn't screw up, right? But you got to the top of a certain mountain that then you were like, shit.
Yes.
What? Like, how did you... I know, I don't want you to repeat everything that you've been saying on other podcasts. I know that there's vision. I know there's gratitude, there's intention. But you have something called leverage.
Mm-hmm.
How did you figure that leverage out, if you don't mind?
Wow. Wow. Great question.
Oh, I don't want to start all heavy and shit.
No, but that's exactly the way that I would want to do things. And it's
Yeah.
The first thing that I will say is the fact that you have that awareness of the mountain, of the climb, of the clouds,
Of my
at your age, like that is half the battle. That is half the battle. When you say about, the clouds and what's beyond there, or, the fear, that's all indication of you're on the right track, because that's how it's meant to be. It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be something that you can figure out straight away. It's not meant to be something that you have the answers to. And the leverage that you're talking about, that still does not feel like you're talking about me. When you say like you've done all these great things and you've had these amazing experiences and this knowledge, I still feel very much at this moment in time that I am failing and that I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
And that I haven't succeeded, or I haven't reached an important pinnacle yet.
Yeah.
So the leverage is about consistency, and the leverage is about not giving up, and the leverage is about continuing to try and find that successful peak. So it's my, half you're failing, half, you are going to get there. Whatever achievement that I've set out to achieve and I've done it, the goalpost has always moved for me. I've always had short-lived, momentary, wow, well done, you done really well there, and I move on. I mean, it could literally be a half an hour of that day if something great happens to me, or I've achieved something or got a big deal or whatever it is, I will sit and say well done for about a half an hour, and then it will completely be gone. I will prepare for it, and I'll be on to the next goal or the next whatever else.
Mm.
Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. It's so unfortunate though, because it's like there is that failure that goes with it, and there is like, it's kind of like everyone says the same thing, that once you get to the top, it's like the next and the next, and you. I don't even, probably even Bezos right now doesn't feel like he is at the top. So like technically it's just this constant like fucking rat race.
Yeah, but it has to be like that, because if you look at anything in your life, if you stop after the first
Yeah,
triumph,
I know.
then that's it. Then you never achieve anything after that.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is, I've learned over the years, definitely more into my 30s, that when it goes wrong and when you make wrong choices and wrong decisions, it's okay to acknowledge them, but it's really important to just be easy on yourself and kind to yourself and go, we do better. We go again, we figure it out, we don't make those mistakes again. And if we do, then we just have to kind of reassess and realign ourselves and keep going.
Yeah.
And I think for, as long as I can remember from being in the music industry, now being in the combat sports industry, is that all of the creative people that I'm surrounded by that are doing well and I admire and I aspire to be like, they also have the same ups and downs that I do. We all have it. It's just a creative thing. If you're creative and you're entrepreneurial and you're are a go-getter and are all these little niche cliche little quips, then you have to experience the highs and the lows. It goes part and part. Unfortunately, there's days that I wake up and I say, I wish I could wake up and be content with just working a 9-to-5 job and going to an office, sitting in a cubicle, getting paid, buying a house, and that be it, and feel contentment. But I was put here for a very specific task that I'm still trying to figure out, but I know what I don't want to do,
And usually knowing what you don't want to do makes things somewhat easier to embark on, where it's like, I know what to avoid.
Yes.
When it comes to the failing and these lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain point in time, I don't know if it comes with age, I don't know if it comes with experience, where you go like, all right, I'm in the slump again?
Yeah.
Or does the slump always feel fresh in you?
That's a really, really, really great question and extremely relevant to where I'm at right now at the moment. And I've noticed that I have like a cyclical pattern in terms of my career, my creativity, and I suppose the climb, if you want to put that label on it. And it gets to, what I figured out is when I started music in my early 20s, when I got to 28, 29, I had my midlife crisis. What I thought was a midlife crisis, little did I know there was loads more to come. But and then I had like a thing where I was like, I need to exit this industry. There needs to be something else. I need to find more for myself. And then I got into like martial arts and sport and all that kind of where it led to me now today. And I still feel like I'm going through that now. Mm-hmm. I'm still like changing the core. Like I've done what I've done in combat sports for 8 years, the podcasting, and I feel in myself that I'm searching for a new creative outlet and a deeper connection. So I notice in myself that every like end of every decade so far, I've had this just pure, I want to drop everything. I'm letting go of everything and I'm going to create a new path for myself. Mm-hmm. So when I was in my 20s and this happened, I got really scared and really nervous because I was leaving an industry that it was all I knew. So I was really freaked out that, that security of stay in music because you're really good at it. You've built up all your contacts. You have a little bit of a, notoriety. So it's easy for you to get in places, well, not in places, but into like opportunities or whatever it might be. And so the same thing is happening to me now where I kind of go, just stay in sports and combat sports because it's your niche and you're really good at it. But I do feel a need to kind of navigate into something not more meaningful, because this career is really important and very meaningful to me. But I feel like it's soul growth more than anything. It's creative growth. It's growing of my soul into what's next. So to roundabout to answer your question, I have noticed that there are patterns, greater patterns, as in like, you know, years in the making, and then things shift. And then also in kind of like the day to day of the creative sort of element of what I do, I recognize like creative processes, you know, and I get very, even down to, you know, I might want to not even leave bed some days, you know, where I'm just like, I have no creative desire to do this. And then when I get into those spots, that's usually when I get like a really big creative spark, like this is like launching this new thing or get involved with this project. And what I've noticed is it's the slowing down of Lydia. That's what my body and my mind needs to get creative again. So I'm in this busyness of like, go, 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 go. And then I'm suddenly like, I can't do this anymore. And I just physically want to shut off from the world, throw my phone away. And for a long time, I was like, do I have a little bit of depression? But it's actually not. It's my creativeness making me slow down, forcing me to slow down, to shut everything off so that I can have the space to meditate on what comes next.
Right now, would you have like a certain team around you, or are you navigating the media space somewhat by yourself with like the people that you know?
Yeah, I'm navigating it on my own, and I have done for a very long time. It is very scary and it is very nerve-wracking, and you have to really back yourself 100%. What I found is that I have worked with people in the past. I have been involved with teams and different stuff like that and taken up opportunities. I found it really, really difficult, mainly because people are not aligned. When people are not aligned like you are, whether it's in the creative space or, you know, as people, it can be very difficult to navigate business and careers and executing big projects, because everyone has to be on the same playing field and there has to be 120% trust. And then, you know, in any relationship, there can be like, it can be fragmented, it can break down. And that's where I get, you know, less creative. And that's where it becomes more of a job for me than this amazing project that I'm working on. So I tend to prefer to stay on my own or go back to working on my own, because maybe it's like I'm a control freak. You know, you have all the control, you have all the freedom to kind of be as driven or not driven, and it's on your schedule. But it definitely is necessary to work alongside people in terms of getting assistance on things like, you know, what I mean, I suppose, is that I like to be my own boss, quote unquote, but I definitely recognize that you have to work with people along the way to achieve things. But I definitely work better alone, and that's where a lot of my creativity comes in. But when you do work with a team and it is right and everyone is on the same page and everyone is super passionate, then that's like a really beautiful thing. Like the podcast, you know, when I done the first exchange podcast with Shane at Collaborative Studios, and that was a pure, you know, I had gone for a screen test for a TV show and I didn't get it. And while I was in there, he was the sound guy, and he basically like, you know, called me afterwards and was like, oh, you were in for this audition, you know, I heard that you didn't get it, but I have a studio and I have worked on radio and I have this new vision. Do you want to do like a podcast? You know, pretty much what you guys are doing here. And I said, yeah, look, I'll give it a shot. And it was so successful and so interesting, and not only sports and combat sports or fight sports. I kind of wanted it to be a platform for all different people. So it was really, really cool, and I really enjoyed it. So
that's the interesting thing, where right now I feel like we're all at a point. No, I'm not going to throw the blanket assumption that it's everyone, right? But obviously when you go down a path where you're not going to niche down super quick, it's like you kind of have to become the niche, right? And it's so difficult that like, there's an ego thing right now that I'm battling with, where it's like you kind of have to accept that there's a little bit of, dare I say, like you need to be a little bit proud and pompous
Yes.
to a point where you're like, fuck, man, I need people. I want people to like me,
Yep.
and I need their attention
Yes.
to then do what I want to do, right? But then, obviously, we're in Ireland. There's Ireland. I'm from Malta. I'm not Irish, by the way.
I just came back from Malta.
Did ya?
I was working and I had a show in Malta. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing quite a lot of MMA over there.
Well, it was
there.
boxing, but
Boxing?
yeah, it was in. Do you know where the Hilton is in Malta?
Yeah.
It was in the Hilton in Malta. And it was amazing. That's so cool that you're from Malta. I didn't know that. I meant to ask you where you were from.
Tell everyone how tiny the island is.
It's so tiny, but it's so beautiful.
You know, everyone like
I can't imagine a podcast would be that successful there. Maybe it would. I don't know. But yeah, it's beautiful, but tiny. Yeah.
It's so tiny. Like people always go like, "Oh yeah, she's from Malta," you know, carry on.
Yeah.
And then they forget or don't even know how small it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, well, we're like culturally very similar, you know. So there is that concept of just like not even notions, but just like you have to be humbled, right? Like it's not encouraged. And I don't want to make it, I'm trying to learn how to not make things a women's issue sometimes. But there is that element of growing up and being raised as a girl where they kind of have to like put you in your place, you know?
Yeah. Well, as women, we are socially indoctrinated to put someone else first, you know, or to be second, or to be less than, or to quieten ourselves down.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah.
So like even there are certain steps of even just doing this podcast that I started out a while ago where it was like, how dare I start it? But then I'm like, no, you know. But in saying that, right, the one thing that I am new to and still figuring it out is I started working at the age of 21, right?
Yeah.
So I got thrown into the world as like in business. And then it's like I've been 4 years into this and I slowly start to see things where I'm like, why are they treating the lads that are my age as like bros? And they're approaching them with business opportunities.
Yeah.
Full on like, I have an idea, you're cool, let's do this. But then with me, I've just been constantly strung along as like, no, you work for us, you know, like you don't have that much experience. Like it's like very, and I remember just getting very angry. At first, that's how I met it with. It's just like, why are you doing this to me? You know what I mean? I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can join along. Yeah. What do you mean? And that's like a question I want to ask you, not about what's it like with being a woman in business, what's it like, none of that stuff. But it's like, did you ever get to a point, or what was the turning point where you're like, okay, I see it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't do much. I can't let that touch me anymore, though.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say, of all the people I've met and all the interviews and everything I've done, you are incredible. Honestly, your questions that you've come with and your insight and your depth straight off the bat is like, honestly, I'm like, wow. I was like, this girl is absolutely incredible.
Cheers.
So whatever glass ceiling you think other people have put there for you, like, smash down, you know, like seriously, because you are like, honestly, this is fantastic. You like what you girls are doing here is like incredible.
Thank you.
So screw them is the first thing that I would say. The second thing that I would say is I 100% know what you mean by that. And I, even to the point where, you know, I came from the music industry, which is obviously male and female dominated, or non-binary dominated. But the boys still, they still run the show. It's still the big boys club. So I went from being in the music industry to being in the combat sports industry, the fight industry, which up until, you know, a certain point in time, women couldn't even fight, you know, never mind train or, you know, the Olympics and all these different things. So I'm still in a male dominated sport. You unfortunately have to make, now don't get me wrong, I don't want people who are listening to this or watching this to think that combat sports or the music industry is like this horrible industry where, like, you know, it's abusive to women and different things. Every industry, unfortunately, where there is men, there can be, and more often there is, a lot of abuse of some level.
Yeah, there's
you
like
know,
authority there.
exactly. There's some sort of abuse. It is not equal sailing or planes or an equal playing field. What I had to figure out very quickly from the start of being in the combat sports industry is that when you're a woman and when you're new and when you're not a ring girl or you're not like one of those stereotypical roles that women play within the industry, you very much have to quickly accept the way it is or leave. And that seems like a very, I feel like I let women down by admitting that I had to do that or saying that I'd done that, because I would as I am as a person, I always believe in like truth and fairness and justice, and representing yourself and other women to the best of our abilities and raising us all up. And for a very long time I did feel like I had done women a disservice in the sport because I kept quiet on things that had happened around me or to me. And still to this day, like a big thing within the sport is when something goes wrong or like gossiping, backcutting, backstabbing. It's so prevalent within the sport. And when things go wrong within business, you'll always hear someone saying, blah, blah, this happened or that happened. It's just natural, human thing. So whenever anything happened to me within business that I could have gone to people and, I keep saying I'm going to write a book and I'll put it in there, but I've chose to stay quiet. And I do have inner conflict about that on whether that is the right thing for me or is the right thing for women in the sport to do. And when people might watch this and be like, fuck, what happened to her? There's nothing that I need to go to, the police, the guards about it, the police, or make a report or file go to court. It's nothing like that. It's just, underlying misogyny, sexism, just the old boys club, that is like, fucking hell, man, like you have daughters, you have sisters, you have mothers, this just should not be allowed to happen. And even then from that to the kind of the audience, the fight game fans or audience, again, not everyone. I've met some of the nicest people in the sport. I love everything about fighting and gyms and coaches and the fighters. They bring so much to the community and just, I love it. But there are a certain amount of people online that, even, if I do a show and I'm on TV or I have done a broadcast or, I've done something publicly, the next morning I'll open my Instagram and I'll have, unsolicited DMs.
Yeah. Oh,
like even to that extent, there's so much that you could talk about.
Oh my God.
And it's like, and so because of that, I try to, not be as sexual, not be as not that you'd be flirtatious, but for a very long time, people used to comment, she's so flirty with those guys. And it's like, I could be no more flirty. Like, if you think that's me flirting, like, you should see me in real life. When I do, my game is a lot better than that. But, even stuff like that, it's just because I'm really friendly, I'm really passionate, I'm really into what I'm doing, that it's just translated as this woman just wants to do whatever with this person that she's interviewing, and it could be male or female, it wouldn't matter, so things like that I've had to. But in saying that, I've seen women who've come into these industries and have spoken up and said, and been like the quote unquote bitch, and they're not respected either. And it's a thing of like, well, just keep her quiet there, and
because you're either a problem or you're complacent.
100%.
And
100%, yeah.
It's so difficult to navigate because it's like, that's it with me, where I also know myself enough that if something were to happen, then I do turn cold.
Yes.
But if I want to stay there, I I don't know if it's the Mediterranean in me, or else just like my personality, but like I will not kiss your ass.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's going to be like the detriment to
Yeah.
me. The ass kissery, I can't handle it.
Well, no, it won't be a detriment to you because, you know, whatever your belief system is, whatever path that you choose, any action that you choose to take, like it's all going towards leading you somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to
And
be somewhere.
don't get me wrong, like, you know, I have messed up a lot in my career. Like
Like, what are some failures?
so some of the failures that I would count is in my 20s being and I don't really blame myself because it was just the age that I was, but I wasn't emotionally mature enough to deal with the gravity of my music career and the fast pace of it, and I very much was leading into the rock and roll lifestyle. And you know, now that I look back on it, to be successful in any walk of life, you know, the rock and roll lifestyle is not one to succeed in. And more recently in this career, I think I have a very big problem with thinking that other people have the same heart as me, and thinking that other people think the same as me in terms of fairness. You know, the list could go on, but I find it very difficult to, you know, when people fuck people over, I'm the first person to go, no, hang on, let's get psychological on this. Like, what could be, I don't think that person, maybe they done this because of this way, or maybe it was, you know, I always try and be fair in like why people have made decisions that they've made, because I've made wrong decisions myself, and not being a nice person back in my 20s and teens to other people that I worked with, you know, especially within the band. But with growth, with hindsight, with therapy, with jiu-jitsu, you know, with clean lifestyle, clean living, I've been able to heal that and look back and apologize for it, you know, apologize to the universe, and also know to do better when I go on. But I still have that thing where, you know, I will go into, you know, I've trusted other people that have, you know, just in business, you trust people have clean hearts, and they're saying like, you know, this is an opportunity that we have for you, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is the big vision, and we want you on board. And then, you know, you get there, and it's like, this not only is this not what I was sold, but these people are not people that I would want to be around in everyday life, never mind in business with.
They're comfortable,
you know,
liars.
Yeah, 100%. And you get, businesses end and businesses fail, and people go in and out of business deals all the time. But I have found that, you know, I do get emotionally invested, emotionally caught up in the kind of what can happen and the future, and this is going to be, and then when it doesn't work out, I do take a certain amount of personal responsibility, and I do find it hard to kind of, you know, it takes me a while to sort of
bounce back
from it. Yeah, because I kind of feel like sometimes you get that thing where you're like, fuck, why do I even bother leaving the house? Like, I'm not going to try. And you just have to be brave. And I think a big thing for me is that I have no other friends that work in this industry. I've no other friends that sorry, I'm just saying this now, and I know that if my friend Layla sees this, she'll be like, what the fuck? She's like, we did the exact same job. I'm like, you're good friends. So I have one good friend, Layla, who she's between America and the UK, and she's been a sage for me over the couple of years, and has been great with advice. But kind of in my everyday life, like the people I grew up with and family, they don't know this industry, and it's like they don't understand the ins and outs. So you do get quite isolated, and when there's an issue or a problem, I find that I do keep it to myself. And even if you have a therapist, like, you know, try to tell a therapist about like, oh, this deal didn't work out, and they're like, okay, well, it's just a deal.
No, but like, I don't get it. This
you're not an idiot because it's fucking like that, you know. And it's like this whole kind of thing. But you know, even when I'm like talking to you now, I still kind of feel like, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah, there's that like imposter syndrome sometimes.
Oh, totally. Like, I recognize, don't get me wrong, I recognize that I have a skill. I know what I'm good at. And, I know I'm meant to be where I am. I know I could be better, but there's all these things where I do recognize it. It's when other people say to me, like, I mean, I have friends that are, again, they're so supportive. I have a group of friends they're called the council, because it's like this coven of women that are all super intelligent, like psychologists, nutritionists, like, like the MSc B2 whatever ahead of all their names and stuff. And they're always like, they'll put up like the UFC, or like when they're like, oh my God, you should do this job. Why don't you ring them and just tell them that you're available? And then I'm like, that's not how this industry works, but I love that you just think that would be like they just they're so loving and so supportive. So it's when they say stuff and I go, God, do they really know what I'm like? Like, I'm not as good as they think I am. And that's when the imposter syndrome gets in. But so I think in those moments, that's when I know I have a bit of work to do. Like, I'm, in reflective meditation, I'm like, okay, sit with this and recognize your strengths.
How do you deal with patience, Lydia?
You called the wrong person. All right, cool. And
same, like,
what star sign are you?
I'm a Taurus.
Ah, the earth sign. I'm a Leo.
Oh,
so I'm so you're a bull in the china shop and I'm a lion drumming through fire hoops. But so patience comes with time and with age and with having no choice, and with having to work on letting it go. Do you mean, are you asking me about patience because from a career point of view, or of like, what you want everything to happen yesterday?
No, so a little bit of everything, right? So definitely a career point of view in one way, but then it's also just like in a reflective sense of like, let's bring up the UFC, right?
Yes.
Like, there's obviously a lot of steps to go, but then it's just like, okay, how do I, like, what else do you need to fucking do? Like, what's next for you to get onto UFC? Is it like DAZN? Is it like, how does it do? Like, obviously you're not gonna DM Dana White.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I would, but he would so respond.
I tag him every Sunday.
No, I'm like that. Let's message him again today.
But like, it's sort of, there's that element of patience, but also proactivity.
Yes.
And you need to find that balance of, I'm not going to pester people.
Yeah.
But then I'm also based in Europe. Is there a chance, right? Because like, sure, everything is fucking possible, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do we go from the UK to Ireland to then Las Vegas?
Yes.
Like,
so
one step at a time, Deb.
Yeah, one step at a time. I mean, all the classic cliches, like sometimes you do go, I get why they say that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the way that I have to work things, so I have no patience.
Okay.
And I think that everything should be delivered yesterday. And what I've learned, one of the good things that have come out of working with teams or with other people on certain projects is that I learned very quickly that not everyone is going to work to the same level as me, and that's okay. And if they're an employee, it is absolutely okay that they don't answer a text or an email at 9 p.m. at night or get an edit done, or if their shift is 9 to 5. And that's something that I found very hard to deal with when I did have employees. So patience from that standpoint, I've definitely recognized that, there are deadlines, and deadlines are there for a reason and they need to be met. But sometimes it's not the end of the world. It's really not the end of the world. So that's a really big thing. When I look back on, because there's a chain in like, companies or like, so this person is like, I don't care how it happens, just get it done. And then that filters into the next person. Okay, I'm going to get it done. And then the next person. And then it feeds down. And then it's just this big line of like angry, aggro, tension, like just get the fucking whatever it is done and get it out. And it's so really, really unproductive from like a working space. So that's one area where I learned to have patience, that it's not that big a deal in terms of deadlines. And the second thing is, when I'm in that creative space of, okay, so I have some downtime now, and I have, like, for example, I'm home half the month. I'm in the UK half the month. So I have a little bit of downtime and I'm kind of in between planning new projects. So I was like, okay, I'll accept invitations to come on podcasts or like meet with people and, you know, whatever. So this is part of my, you know, kind of process of like different things. But when I say target someone or I'm sending out like a vision or a little plan or inviting someone to kind of come into business with me, as soon as the email is sent, the phone call is had, whatever, it's parked and I don't think about it. It's parked.
I love that.
And it's like, I let go of the outcome. I've done my bit. I've worked as hard as I needed to, whether you're putting together a deck or a
Pitch, yeah.
pitch, whatever it is. Send it, best of your ability, park it. Forget about it.
God, sort of. Just like,
Let go and let God, as they say.
yeah.
You know, whatever your version of God is. But that is what I've learned to do with stuff. And it's the best way because it's literally like filing cabinets. Filed, this one's on, yep, file it back, and that's it. And that's how I deal with things. And then, you know, there's so many things. Like I've done, like, you know, screen tests, auditions for so many different things over the years and didn't get them, but I parked them and went, I done my best, or I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't what they're looking for. I think in this, especially from a presenter standpoint, I think, you know, I've done all the presenting and sort of on-screen stuff. I'm blessed that I have other talents and other skills beyond that, whether it be branding, marketing, social, whatever it is, that I can kind of navigate, you know, financially navigate having a career in presenting, because it's very difficult, you know, because jobs are few and far, especially in this industry. But yeah, I've always just done what I needed to do and, you know, done it to the best of my ability, or recognized, okay, you could have done that a little bit better, or that's maybe blah, blah, blah. But there's so many variables of why somebody won't hire you. You know, maybe they can't afford you. Maybe they need someone at a particular time that you said, I won't be available then, but I'm only available here. You know, or maybe you're not the right look, or maybe you're not the right sound, or maybe they want a different approach to presenting or interviews or whatever it might be. And that's okay. That's okay, because the big thing to remember is, like, you, especially in this time where you can create content with literally a phone and a TikTok account or an Instagram account, there's literally no reason why you can't be whoever or whatever you want to be. Yes, it makes it a lot easier when someone comes along with a wad of cash and says, do that for money, or come hang out with us, and, like, you know, to have to work, you get your rent paid or whatever it is. But what I have learned, if I've learned anything, is that consistency and hard work will always pay off. No matter what you're doing, it will if you are cleaning streets, if you do that consistently and to the best of your ability, you know, you will be recognized in that field. 100%, it's inevitable. But it's very difficult to do that when it feels like the chips are against you, and when it feels like everyone else is getting opportunities and you're not. And I used to have a very, very hard time in looking at other people and going, what the hell do they have that I don't have? Or what are they doing? Or, you know, she's just there because of her looks, or she's just there because of XYZ. If they just give me the opportunity. And that's such a toxic mind space to be in. And it's so easy to slip into for me. But it is so detrimental to, like, your higher vibration. It's such a low vibrational way to be. And I hate that there's industries that create that, you know, in that the opportunities are, you know, people do get jobs because of how they look. People do get jobs because of who they know, or, you know, whatever other reasons are there. And sometimes it's not fair, but you could spend all day focusing on that. So as much as I know that, I still have to pull myself out of those. Like, that doesn't go away.
Yeah,
you know?
That's it, literally. Like, sometimes I'm just looking around, you know, and obviously not everyone has a podcast, but the podcast space has increased. And sometimes I'm like, fucking hell, Like, I'm here, like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
I do get a bit attacky sometimes because I'm like, all right, so I'm not a pretty princess.
Yeah.
I'm not like,
Well, you are absolutely stunning and you're cool as fuck.
yeah, but I'm not
So
a
that
pretty
needs
princess,
way
but, like,
more.
But like, if you were to split the fucking population up, right? It's like we've got the girlos, we've got the Huns,
Yeah.
and then we've got the lads.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not the girlo and the
Yeah.
Hun, so don't fucking come at me.
Yeah.
Like, fair play, like the influencer
Yeah.
woman. You
Yeah.
know, they're
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
somewhat similar. Fucking
Yeah.
get money made, copy
Yeah.
and paste, pow,
Yeah.
and like we got them.
Yeah.
Amazing. Keep doing that. And then we got the lads
Yeah.
as well. So it's like it's hard for me to find my space.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I do go, is it my
You've
nationality?
answered your own question.
Yeah.
You've answered your own question because you're like, I don't know how to find my space. Maybe you're not meant to fit into these spaces.
I know. But
Maybe you are meant to create the path. The same way when I started in this industry, they were like, oh, girls don't do that shit. Girls do ring cards or they do, you can't do interview and like leave the lads do that. And now I'm Ireland's first female combat sports presenter. So if I hadn't have been brave enough to go, fuck you all, I want to do this and do it, I wouldn't have created that little piece of legacy for myself. And you're exactly the same.
And how did you do it? Like sometimes that's what I feel. Like I feel like I get a little bit angry because
Yes.
I need a blueprint, right?
Yes.
Like I need a fucking map.
Yes.
And recently, strangely enough, it's a really weird one, but like for this year, I'm only reading memoirs.
Yep.
And I'm starting to read more female authors
Yeah.
through these memoirs, and I'm like understanding. This is why I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
This podcast is for me.
Oh, that's okay. I know I'm getting so much out of it as well because you remind me of myself so much. I can't believe I'm old now that I say that to people. Like, you remind me of myself when I was younger, but you really do.
But like that's why I told you, like when we sat down, I'm like, you're me, like 10 years ahead, you know. And
Yeah.
it's like that's why I'm trying to like pull everything out.
Yeah.
Like it's not a cry for help, but it's just like how like I've got all this, but I've got nothing at the same time. That's it, Lydia.
Okay, so it's your mindset
Yeah.
that you need to shift because you
No. Like I'm okay. But,
You're
like
okay,
but I know I'm having that like little low, you know, like I have
Yes.
that little slumpy slump.
yeah, but while you're in this slumpy slump, you're
Yeah.
still doing the work.
Yeah.
You're still sitting here getting the podcast out. You're still meeting new people. You're still you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I do not mean to be, I don't know what the word is. I don't know what the word is. I'm on a blank here. But when you're saying all this to me, the one thing that's coming through for me is like, you're still so young.
I know.
You're so fucking young. Like, if you
Yeah.
were like 60 and you're like, I really want to be this hot up and coming podcaster, I'd be like, you need to probably up the ante and do 3 a week, maybe.
Yeah.
But you were literally so young, and that hunger and that desire and drive, and that almost like I'm pissed off and I'm angry. That's what is going to carry you.
Okay.
That's what will carry you.
All right.
Because if you were to sit here and go, yeah, I don't really feel like I'm a podcaster and I don't know if I'm doing, and you were undecided in how you feel about all of this, that's the first alarm bell. Because I'm like, she's going to get absolutely like she'll just get blown out of this completely.
Literally.
The fact that you were like, I'm screaming for my place.
Yeah.
I want to be fucking heard.
That's it.
Keep that. Keep that fire. What I will say to you is, be careful of where you vent it, and be careful of where you show that.
Vulnerability, yeah.
Not vulnerability.
Okay.
Vulnerability is good. That anger. The anger.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want to happen is for that to get in the way of you being your brilliant self at, like, whether it is in podcasting or you don't want it to turn into bitterness. You have to keep it
Yeah.
and fight
Yeah.
and know when your place is, I'm going to earn this spot wherever I am, but don't let it sabotage you.
That's it.
Don't let it sabotage you. And I speak from experience because I did.
Yeah.
And when I was in the band, I was exactly the same. I was like, why the fuck didn't we get that festival slot? Why the fuck didn't we get this? And I would be so angry that I actually became unpleasant. I'm not saying you're unpleasant in any way, but I became unpleasant for the people that I was working with. it was like, just relax, you know. Or about my band used to say to me all the time, relax, like it will come. And I used to see them as the enemy, because I was like, you don't want this as much as me, you know. But it is not about not having those feelings. It's about how to properly contain them and use them to fire you in the right direction. Don't get rid of it. You need it, but use it as ammunition to fire you up and help you to get to where you need to go. But just don't let it turn to bitterness or anything that will sabotage your brilliance.
That's it. It's like channeling it to the right
Yes.
place and like using that.
Yeah.
Now, on that, that's the next thing that I kind of want to talk to you about. With that experience that you had, like going from singing and like changing up your careers, right? Was there a point where you're like, okay, I'm either going to like start trusting myself, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is there that like self-belief and trust in, no, I am the shit, but
Yeah.
like, I need to stop letting all of this doubts that's surrounding me, like,
Yes.
step out and just,
So it is goddess energy.
ooh, hello.
And that is what I call it. It's called goddess energy. And I slip in and out of it. And when I am living the lifestyle, not drinking alcohol, not, you know, doing jiu-jitsu, going to the gym, lifting weights, doing therapy, doing meditation, doing self-reiki, whatever it is, when I'm on all these different things, I am living in my goddess energy. And I'm slowly now going back into my goddess energy. And what I mean by goddess energy is the recognition, the awareness, and the insight that I am a goddess in everything that I do in life, approaching life with goddess energy. You know, embody yourself as a goddess and know that, you know, what would a goddess do? That's what I ask myself all the time. What would a goddess do? And a goddess is not going to sit here and, you know, do whatever, you know, a goddess wouldn't do. But what I mean by that is recognizing that you are a goddess in whatever you do, but not having that, having the humility or the you know, being humble in that awareness. So it is recognizing that you are the best at what you're doing, or if you're not the best, that you will be the best. And that, you know, whether you look at yourself and go like, you know, what is it that you want to do? What is your pinnacle? This is what I want. No limitations. It can be anything.
I think it would be a talk show.
A talk show.
Yeah.
Stunning, right? So when you think about, I have the world's most successful running, longest running, most respected talk show on XYZ. When you envision yourself being in that spot, like, you have to align yourself as a person in this life today, as you are right now. You have to carry yourself in a manner that will align you into that talk show or that talk show host or doing that. So what I mean by that is, you know, you have to almost live the way you envision yourself to be when you get to that point. Yeah. And every day you might be like, oh, well, I don't really feel like a goddess or that talk show host, but that's okay. But we build little bits, little blocks to get there. So it's about having that recognition of, I am the goddess, I'm staying within my goddess, but I'm going to be humble and kind and considerate, and I want to have the ability to learn. And, you know, so you're going through this life with a grace and a calm, confident knowing that this is where you're going to end up. And by envisioning it already happening, or sitting with yourself when you meditate or in those quiet spots and visualizing it, see it all, see how it looks, see how you look, see what you're wearing, see how the audience responds to when you ask a question, see the guests, see it all, and feel that tingle and know that it's coming, and then get to work, because that's the important bit. So we can all sit at home and like visualize, but what's important is you visualize it and you get out and do the podcast, do all the things that help you to get to that spot.
Yeah, that's it.
Does that make sense?
No, completely.
This is all stuff in my head. So when I'm spewing it out, I'm like, that might not make sense to you, but to me, I'm like, this
no,
makes
that's
absolute perfect sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's like that little bit of accepting that it has already happened to a certain extent.
Yes.
And that, all right, like, all I need to do is just keep chipping away. It's going to happen. I just need to stay on the same.
It is literally all you need to do to keep chipping away. Like, that is it's so important. Like, I can't even stress enough. And I don't even follow it 100% myself. You know, there's loads of stuff I could be doing now, but I'm in this mindset right now that I need a little bit of a change. I need a little bit of a time out. So I'm giving myself space to breathe.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because I need to do that to give myself the energy to go again and to start all these new projects. But back when I was, you know, working full time and like doing Fight Connect TV on the weekends and having no day off and not killing yourself, because killing yourself and running yourself into the ground is just a disservice. But when I had the, you know, Saturday night when everyone was going out on the session or to a gig or whatever, I go, no, I'm actually going to go to like, you know, Crumlin Boxing Club and like cover a little amateur show with 12-year-olds and edit that for the weekend. People were like, are you fucking nuts? But always, every single time I done it, I envisioned myself being at Matchroom, DAZN shows, BT Sport, Frank Warren. And when I got there, people used to say to me when I was in the UK at shows, they're like, I feel like you've been like in this scene for years. And it was literally because I arrived knowing what I needed to do and knowing exactly my purpose. And I was confident to a degree, or, you know, I was calm. And I wasn't overwhelmed by the gravity of the you know, the people that were around, the stage, the, you know, the big arenas. I wasn't overwhelmed by that because I had seen it. Now, that didn't all go to plan, you know, like I had a bigger vision for myself that is still coming, but I done that for like 2 years or whatever. So when I got there, I was like, it's exactly how I imagined and felt that it would feel.
Okay.
You know?
When it came to that little, so as you said, you're kind of facing not a crisis, but like a little change and whatnot. How does it?
They feel like crises.
Yeah, they feel like crises.
To me, they do anyway. I'm like, I'm in a crisis.
Literally. But like, how do you, like, what does it feel like? Is it emptiness? Is it like fucking, I'm gonna shit my pants, but I know that this isn't it? I think that's,
I've yet to shit my pants.
Once they're why I'm not allowed on RTE. Because I have a potty mouth, that's why.
Well, no, your potty mouth is fine. We can rein it in when it's RTE, but I was exactly the same as well. And like, you know, and I still don't want the job where it's like, no, good evening and welcome to whatever. You know, I want to have my personality shine through. So like, that's okay.
Oh, yeah. It's being funny.
But yeah, maybe the Tommy Tiernan show, they'll let, you know, they leave guests on there.
I wear a beanie.
Exactly, right. So they're a bit free flowing on that show. You can have anyone on there, you know, people who are like happy to be themselves.
Literally.
But where are we going with this?
Yeah, with crisis.
The crisis.
Yeah.
Where does the crisis feel? Okay, so I will be really real with you, right? So I done a healing circle very recently, and the message that came through for me was to use my voice. So this is very...
Was psychedelics involved?
Medicine was involved. But it's not a psychedelic. I'm like, it wasn't a psychedelic. It was with a proper shaman who is qualified to use medicinal herbs in a lovely way. But it was a very nice ceremony, and yeah, but the big thing that came through for me was to use my voice. So this is all very relevant and very interesting. That's probably why I got like a little not overwhelmed, but like excited when you started talking, because I was like, okay, this is all very new and recent to me, and I usually don't speak I'm very private, you know what I mean? Like I'm on the internet years and like, you know, out there, but in terms of my own, what goes on in my head and what goes in my personal life, I actually don't talk about anything because it's a protection tool. I don't like to be vulnerable, which is something I'm trying to learn to be a little bit more. So, but I find it really, really difficult. But so the recent crisis, the more recent crisis that I had, how did I know that I was in a crisis? Well, I separate my body and mind. That's the first stage of it. That always happens. And I just laser focused and I go, this is just the job. This is what I have to do. It has to be this way. No matter how bad I feel in it, no matter how bad the situation is or the working environment or whatever it might be. And I don't listen to myself. So where I listen to myself all the time, when I start to stop listening to myself, that's when I know I'm gone on the wrong direction. And I was in a work situation where I really was not making me happy. And everyone on the outside thought that it was the best thing that has ever happened to me and that this was it. This is like the big, big break. And I think there was a part of me that was really embarrassed and I had to really struggle with removing myself from that situation because I felt that I was self-sabotaging. And how I felt I was self-sabotaging was I didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, why am I not, like, this is just doesn't feel right for me. But I had told myself for so long that this outcome was the perfect work scenario that could ever happen. And for some reason, it was almost like being in the band. Like all I wanted to do was be on a stage and tour the world, get a record deal, like be in a band 24/7, get to do full time. And then when it was happening and I was on the road and touring and I was sitting on the back of a bus with like 5 lads and I was like, I hate this. This is how I envisioned it, but I thought I would be happy. So I was like, is this now another, am I self-sabotaging at a really great opportunity? So I separated.
You disassociated, sort
completely.
Yeah.
And I just went and done it and was like, I was going to work my ass off and, it'll work out. It's all going to be fine. And now it finally got to a head where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And when I left, I was like, so confused and overwhelmed and upset and like just feeling so many different emotions. It was literally like, a breakup of a marriage. And I couldn't listen to anyone. I couldn't listen to any of my friends, any work peers. People would say to me like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, that's awful. Something will come up again. Or people will go, I'm so fucking happy. This was the worst decision you ever went into. We didn't want to say it to you when you were fucking going into it. And I didn't want to hear from anyone. No one's words would comfort me. And then as I slowly started to realize and figure stuff out for myself and start to listen to people, the closest people in my life were like, you literally cried every single day. You were on the phone to us every single day and you cried and you still wouldn't quit. You still wouldn't walk away from it. And it's toxic loyalty, It's toxic, like, I'll just hang on because what if? I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. And that's the fucking hard thing, is knowing when to quit and knowing when to say, this actually doesn't serve me and this is not for my higher good. And having the bravery to go, I don't care what people say or I don't care how people perceive this. This is fucking on me and this is my decision. I'm out of here.
Because it's like you have to separate between, is this anxious because I'm excited, like, am I anxious because I'm excited about something, or is this my gut telling me no?
Yeah, and sometimes I thought, is it the hard work?
Yeah,
is it the volume of the work that I have to do now? And the, like, you fight
pressure.
Yeah, you fight so much, or I did, to get to a certain point, and then you do get to it. And you feel like you owe the universe for conspiring to put it together. You owe
Like, you don't want to come across as ungrateful, even to the people that gave you the opportunity and whatever.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
No matter how bad the relationship is with people, in the end, you always want, and I always did,
That's it.
want to, you know, be in my higher goddess and just be like, thank you so much. I am so grateful, but I can't do this anymore. And, you know, that's why it's really interesting when you say to me, I feel like you have it figured out. Like, I still don't feel like I have it figured out. Like, I still make wrong decisions, but they're not wrong decisions because they all are building blocks.
Yeah.
I know now I'll never go into a situation like I have done in the past blindly or without properly, like, you know, researching who's involved, what's going to be the project, what's going to entail the, you know, whatever the vision is. And so maybe I will in the future and maybe it will be the wrong decision again, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's okay. It's just, it's about working hard, taking the ups and the downs. They come with everything. No one escapes the downs, you know, no matter how successful you are or how successful you perceive somebody else to be. There is no darkness without light.
That's it.
And we need that polarity in everything. It's how the world works.
I think it's also because, like, as you said, that you are navigating this space alone, sort of.
Yes.
And it's somewhat similar to me, although I'm earlier on, but I do hear, like, so many people, like, with their fucking life coaches, with their mentors and all that kind of stuff. And and it's like, you got the shaman, so, like, fair.
Yes.
But it's so interesting because I feel like the people that embark on this alone and don't have, not that you don't have a solid group around you, but like from business perspective, it's like my generation, we're so used to seeing the likes of YouTube groups or whatever in America or the UK, where they have like a massive team or they have a squad. Yeah. They have a full squad. Even fighters, they have a squad, you know, and they're making it.
Yeah.
And it's like, with me, I'm just like doing this alone. So every opportunity feels like the opportunity that's gonna take me closer. I'm assuming that you might have felt the same way with massive like these decisions that come your way, where it's like you don't want to come across as like toxic. Every work you're gonna put your 100% into, and then it's like, how do I figure out which is which? You know, how do I know that this is the business opportunity for me, if that makes sense?
Yes. Okay, so this is the thing, is that you can't actually, sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't. You just have to do it. And do it or not do it. And sometimes you say no, and it's the wrong decision. I should have fucking done that.
Literally.
You know, it's really, really hard. You just have to navigate it as you go and listen to yourself and be patient with yourself and know what's right for you, what feels right in your gut, in your heart, in your mind, what's right for you, and navigate it that way.
And then just keep fucking moving.
Keep moving. And keep moving.
That's it. I feel the need to talk to you about like martial arts and MMA.
Yes.
But like, as in, Ireland is fucking doing great right now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We got Danny McCormick.
Yes.
World
champion Victor, yes.
Women are smashing it.
Like,
they can, and I know that you do jiu-jitsu as well. I did. Fair play to you, right? Yeah. So I always have this thing, and I, like, so many lads have come on the podcast, they do BJJ, whatever. I did one class.
Yeah.
And
in jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
Okay.
And I remember, like, there was this one lady, pure badass, like, full on grey head of hair on her, like 60 years old or something.
Wow.
And all good. And then I just see them, they were rolling and doing all the things. And there was this one lad with a full on, like, transparent gi.
Yeah.
Like, balls in your face, like boxers going through. And I'm like, fair play. It's not the sport for me. I appreciate it. But I'm like, how the fuck do you do that?
They had a transparent gi on. Was it white but just
because
sweat?
Of the sweat.
Ah, okay.
White is underneath, right?
Ah, okay.
How do you do that? How do you get away with it?
How do you get away with it, or how do you ignore it?
Compete? Yeah, that's it.
How do you ignore it? Well,
like, was it overwhelming for you at the start?
No, not at all. And I think any concept of sexualization of what's happening because it's male and female or the positions or whatever it
Yeah.
is. When someone is trying to choke you out like that, you're not
The
thinking about
fear.
that. So you're not thinking about that at all.
Yeah.
But no, I understand 100%.
Like it's so personal. It's
It's
so
re- it's
up in your
you
space.
cannot be more close contact.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like I'll go training this evening and like the lad's sweat will be dripping in my mouth, you know what I mean? Like,
Literally.
or I'll have a foot in someone's ball sack, you know, whatever, whatever it is. But it's not. It's just it's not sexual. It's not
No.
sexualized, and nobody's thinking like that. That's the weirdest thing. That's the first thing that people always go to is like, oh my god, you know, is it not like really like weird that like you're in that position? And it's like, no, it's just grappling. It's you become childlike and it's or animal like, you know, and it's literally just about it's wrestling.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know what I mean?
it's wrestling.
Yeah, it's grappling, it's wrestling, it's like, you know, human chess. It's the most amazing sport. Like it's life changing.
Yeah.
You should go back.
I have a torn ACL. So
Don't go back.
Don't go back.
Yeah, wait.
When I saw it, I was like,
How did you tear your ACL?
so I used to do, so like long story short, I started out in martial arts with karate. Like that was karate. That was my first one. And then with just growth in general, I did football, soccer, and then handball came along. It's team handball. It's like water polo, but on land.
Okay.
And I was a winger, and I tore like my cartilage first in this one. Just someone dead legged me like midair, and I landed. Cartilage tore through my knee joint and escaped it. So I had like a foreign body going around my knee. Called her SpongeBob Nisha. Those guys. So that was my cartilage. And then with my left, I always had issues with it. Went in for surgery, and I ended up with a pseudolock, it's called. So a pseudolock is when my knee didn't mechanically lock, but my brain sent a signal to prevent pain from happening, that I couldn't like move my knee at all. So I had a whole week where I couldn't walk, like everything was up for debate and stuff. And they injected anesthetic to straighten out my knee, and then like to numb it sort of for my brain to do that. And then I started walking. 2 months later, I was coaching handball, ball into the knee, cartilage and ligaments tore. Like straight on, like literally, like if I were to target that, you know?
No way.
Yeah. And I went in, I was never lucky with MRIs either. So I went in for a surgery to fix the cartilage that they assumed were torn,
Yeah.
but I didn't sign off the papers because obviously the surgeon was so confident that it was just that.
Yeah.
But turns out my ACL was torn. But there weren't any papers to sign for an ACL surgery. So I came out with ACL still torn.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if I were to start anything squeezy, does that make sense?
Yeah, grappling probably.
Yeah.
Until you mean you can come back from it, of course. Because like so many
come
people rip their meniscus or ACL or whatever it is. Maybe boxing where
I did Muay Thai for a bit.
Okay.
So
Well, I was thinking Muay Thai, but then I'm thinking about like getting kicks in the leg.
That was it. So
That's worse. Like I'm more concerned about you getting a kick in the leg than grappling, you know?
because that's what happened then. It was like beginners was grand, but then when you join the fighters class,
Yeah.
it's like the kick.
Yeah.
Like you could feel the knee just go like a little bit like that. So I'm like, I have to step away and just admire martial arts from the outside.
There's definitely a martial art we can find you. We can get
Just headshots instead, just get a few concussions, maybe a broken nose and all that kind of stuff. But no, like martial arts is so beautiful. It's like, I think sports in general, but I think especially for women, it's like just go in and get confident.
100%. It's like the most empowering thing that I ever done.
Yeah, it
And
changed
still
your life.
continue to do. Yeah, it has. Like I've had such an emotional like journey within jiu-jitsu, and through it, I created this career for myself. Do you know what I mean? Like it was from jiu-jitsu that, again, when I was like in that sort of like midlife, like what am I going to do? What's my next step? By letting go of everything and starting jiu-jitsu and, being consumed by something brand new and being a beginner again. I think that's something really important, that the older that you get, it's very, very difficult to remember what it's like to be a beginner and to learn something new for the first time. And I think, the older you get, like the older you get, it's kind of conditioned out of us that like you just stop learning. And then it's almost like an ego takes over when you try to teach someone something new for the first time, you know. It's always met with a lot of frustration or a lot of like, oh, you know, that kind of a thing. And you definitely see that in a lot of people in martial arts when they start and they're older. The difference with an older adult to a young child that starts, you know, children are just like sponges. They're just like, oh yeah, show me whatever. Show me, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to learn. And then if you get someone older, they're a bit like, you know, even though they've come to the class to learn, you can see that their inability to learn or to kind of listen to being told something else can be hard for them to navigate at first. It's submission. Yeah, it's ego, it's submission, it's vulnerability, it's being okay with not being able to do a move or a technique and saying, sorry, coach, can you please come over here and show me? And I'm from, you know, speaking to like all the black belts that have coached me throughout the years, that's the one thing that they've said that the best part about women training in their gyms is women are almost like children in a way that they are a lot more open to learning and listening, especially to a man. I think when it's men, you know, men coaches and men students of an older age or a certain age, there can be a little bit of like, I got this. Yeah, I know what to do, you know?
I think there's also a little bit of an expectation on dudes as well, especially if they are fans of the sport without actually starting out the sport.
Yeah.
I've seen it for the short amount of time that I did practice Muay Thai, is that beginners full on they're like, oh yeah, I know how to throw a punch.
But everyone thinks they can fight when they arrive day one in a martial arts gym, which is like the most insane thing ever. And I've even... there's a big misconception about martial arts and combat sports that the people who are in these gyms are like, you know, brutes or thugs or people who are out like starting fights every weekend.
And that could kill their demons, like.
Exactly. Jiu-jitsu is mainly nerds, you know, like it's literally like science computer nerds who are like love the like
so smart.
The psychology of like, you know, getting leverage or one up on like the human chess element. But more often than not, I've seen, you know, I've done this for nearly a decade, and I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I've seen guys mainly that, you know, thought they could fight, and they come and they do a couple classes, and, you know, when you start as a beginner, you're not going to be inspiring the pro team or anything like that, or getting heavy hits, or even being hit at all. It's all about discipline, technique, fitness, and that's where they struggle because they're like, I can fight, but I can't I can't do 20 sit-ups, you know what I mean? Like, so it separates the men from the boys.
Eesh. Shall we leave it at that, Lydia?
Yes, thank you so much.
I fucking loved this, honestly.
So did I really did. And
I feel like I just want to hold your hand and like live life with you.
Well, yeah.
And just be like
Lady, that's
I know the problem, sister.
I know this right. There we go. Come here. I'll take you in.
Just hold your hand and go wherever you go.
No, honestly, like if there is anything that I can help you with, like just let me know. I can be your big sister.
Yeah, and anyone that has questions for me, I'll send them on to you.
Yes, of course. And I'll tell everyone. I'm like, this girl did this podcast and she's really fucking angry, so someone help her out.
No, but I do agree with you. It's like I need to be careful of how I channel that, not even anger, but like that side of me. Does that make sense? So obviously this podcast is my safe space.
Yeah.
It's like the moment that I clip it and put it on TikTok, that's a different story, which I won't. Yeah. But like, yeah, there is that thing where I just, there's ebbs and flows, and like I'm riding the wave, but I'm also, like I brought you in just to fucking like learn everything. Like I know you always talk about like writing a book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is my book. Yeah. This is like my entire, like, just take notes. And
I'm really grateful. Thank you. Like, it's nice for me to, you know, hear that. Because, like, you know, I definitely, when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of people that were doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, even social media was so different back then. You know, I remember like having a Snapchat and everyone was like, what's a Snapchat? Like, why are you doing that? I was like, I don't know. It just seems to work. Yeah. You know, just stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
I felt like I learned a lot. Yeah.
Good. I'm really happy, and thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
True.
Thank you. And yeah, like, just, you know, you're killing this. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you're actually doing it is like amazing. But listen, I know that there's fucking like, there's so many podcasts, there's so many content creators, there's so many, but trust me, these people won't stick it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen that in like all my work that I've done. I'm like, fuck, there's so many people doing XYZ, and now, like 10 years in, like there's only a handful that are still doing it.
I see.
You know, there'll always be competition. It'll never escape you. Like, you know, with the biggest competition should always be yourself. You know,
There you go. Thank you so
that
much.
in the book.
I appreciate it. Everyone, thank you for listening or watching. Yeah. Are we like... No, that's form. That's what that. I fucking love it.
Okay.
Ciao, ciao.
I keep on coming with energy. I keep on bringing that energy. Energy, energy, energy.